Sit!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty swell because I'm still alive.
Hey-o.
Not like everybody else in the NFL. They
Nope.
are dying at a rapid pace.
Whew.
R.I.P. 1 second you're here, then you're gone. Cue the Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Good jam right there. That's not Bone Thugs and Harmony.
What? Oh, that's UGK.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One day. What a great rap song that is. Oh, I love that song so much. To my wife to play it at my funeral. So we're back. A lot of news. Even since we did our IR show, real quick, there's been more news.
Of course.
Deebo Samuel is going to miss a couple games now with his calf strain. A.J. Brown said last night on Monday Night Football he's going to miss at least 2 games. Marshawn Lloyd goes to IR with an ankle injury. And again, it's not the hammy injury, so he'll be okay later.
Sure. I think they signed Chris Brooks in a kind of corresponding move, right?
Yeah.
Chris
so
Brooks.
Emmanuel Wilson is the immediate backup.
Clear backup.
And then Chris Brooks.
Brown signed Royce Freeman to practice squad and
Tua.
Kareem Hunt
Kareem Hunt
to the Chiefs practice squad. They said he'll be back up. He'll be up to the active roster pretty quick.
And that was somebody that we mentioned on the injury show.
First name to mind. Yeah, and Tua to IR. And the signing of Snoop Tyler Huntley is official.
Yep.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, that's it.
Snoop-a-loop.
Yeah, we'll see what week 3 brings us. It's a war of nutrition out there. Eat well, kids. Eat well.
Jeez, get your broccoli.
I just had a smoothie, just in case.
Look at you.
I mean,
you don't want to pull a hammy during this pod.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I tore my shoulder sleeping somehow. I don't know what's going on over here. Getting old.
It's bad news, man.
R.I.P. Rich. It's been a good run.
I'm about to put you on IR next
Gone
week.
forever.
It's okay. Just don't take me to the vet.
I have a Dynasty Nerds injury report.
Rich slept wrong.
Garrett broke a toenail.
Like 6-7
questionable
weeks
for
ago.
pod
I don't
time.
know, man. It looks like you maybe smashed a fingernail
That's
as well.
true. I did.
think
I did
been-
smash this one. Yeah.
R.I.P. nails.
Yep. Gone
right.
forever.
So let's get into
I had one of those happen before, and I was just like, immediately, I was like, oh, that's going to be a cool summer fun right here.
Yep.
Thing's going to be with me for the next 3
I
months.
thought about just painting all my nails black, pretending I'm in my goth phase right now.
ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dye your hair black.
Yeah. Get
Wear
like a
mascara.
tongue piercing or something.
I could see it right now, a little mohawk on you.
Yeah. Look good, feel good,
I got
play
my
good.
tongue pierced in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah, my eyebrow pierced, tongue pierced,
Did they-
ears pierced.
Yeah.
Did it like that? The tongue one was always one that threw me off. Like, I feel like it would be so inconvenient all the time.
No, I mean I bit it twice and it kind of hurt my teeth a little bit. Besides that, I mean,
Yeah. Did it hurt originally when you got it? Did it hurt pretty bad or
no,
no?
not that bad.
I actually heard that one isn't that bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, your mouth does heal pretty quickly.
It wasn't that bad. I still to this day sometimes my kids, I freak them out. Like I can put a toothpick like 3/4 of the way through my tongue because the hole's still kind of there.
Kinda
Even though
there?
It was like 25 years ago I had it.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's just say I didn't do it for me. Eyebrow raise.
Jeez.
That was my that was my punk rock days, man.
There you go.
I skateboarded. I was in the, still like punk rock music to this day, but yeah,
There you go.
that was my jam. So I had the piercings and stuff, 1990, 1997.
Did you wear the big old
98.
Jenkos and stuff?
Oh boy, did I have them.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I had those big I had Jenkos, I had big corduroys that weren't Jenkos. I had all that stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, look
Love
at me.
it.
Tight shirts, big pants.
I remember you wearing that stuff.
Now it's like the opposite. Tight pants, big shirts.
Yeah. No, I don't wear big shirts.
No, I just mean in general.
Oh, okay. Big, take out the R, and then
I don't know. Those big pants are coming back. I feel
They
like.
are.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah.
not in this lifetime. They're not. Not in my. Listen, not in my lifetime. They're not.
Not on you. Not on me.
I mean, to me, I look at it as like, dude, there's no different than like somebody looking back, like when they were wearing bell bottoms. Like, well, yeah, well, it's not really. What was I thinking then?
Agreed. And that now they're coming back another 30. It takes about 30 years.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and-
there's plenty of things I see now that I'm like, ooh, people aren't going to like that one later on.
Yep.
No.
But they do
But
it.
dude, even mullets made a comeback, so you never know. Jinkos, everything repeats itself.
No,
I have like 3-year-old pictures of me with a mullet, and then I had like the stair steps on the side and stuff.
Oh, look at you, Vanilla Ice.
I was flying.
Brian Bosworth.
The funny part is we have like a kid at our church that has the exact same haircut like now.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's
It's back. The lines are
amazing.
back with the mullet thing. It's
amazing.
back. Time repeats itself.
We're in a loop.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm here to see it.
There you go.
So let's get into today's show. First segment we're doing today is called Polar Opposites.
Sounds chilly.
So players that had drastically different week ones than they did week 2. So we're going to kind of talk about it and see which way we lean, right? Like, do we think week 1's more going forward or week 2 going forward? Or maybe we could mix them.
Somewhere in between.
And get one of those
babies.
Whoa. Let's mix it right, shall we?
What was the dollhouse thingy or
Here's
whatever
the
that
church,
was? Yeah.
Here's the steeple.
There.
Open the door.
I was
other people.
See other people.
It was just funny. I was doing this, and I was thinking the ice cream machine that dispenses vanilla and chocolate ice cream
the
at
twist.
the same time.
That is a twist cone, sir. All right.
Those are gross because 50% is good. That chocolate ice cream, doo-doo butter.
It's so weird that you don't like chocolate.
Chocolate
is
ice cream is
so weird.
nasty.
Just
delicious.
Just stop while you're behind.
Dude, easily the worst ice cream ever created.
And we're moving on.
All right. So first player we want to talk about is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Got to.
Week 1 saw 4 targets, 1 reception for 4 yards. It's a good solid 1.4 points.
Solid.
People are out there going, what's up with this guy's speed? What is he, on a big wheel? You know, and everybody else is out there driving 10 speeds. And then week 2 comes out, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 29 points.
He is good.
Did all that.
Oh my goodness.
Did all that pretty much in the first quarter.
I was going to say, like, they took their foot off the pedal. That game was over quick, fast, and in a hurry.
He only played 4 snaps in the fourth quarter. So, literally all that was in the first two
quarter?
Two-
I think all the
2
actual
drives?
production was, first quarter.
So first quarter. So it's just almost, I feel silly someone talking about it, but like, where do you guys lean on Marvin Harrison Jr. after 2 weeks?
Right. I think he was part of our week 1 discussion, right?
Right.
About
Like,
the
are we
rookies.
worried? Are we
Right.
not? I saw Marvin Harrison trades happen. Like, after 1 week, the panic, because the narrative was out there. They had all the metrics and all the tracking, and he only ran 16.9 miles an hour. That's one of the slowest out of all. There's got to be some underlying issue. That's why he didn't test. Now we know why he didn't do any of that stuff. Like, the conspiracy theories were like strong, like quick, like real quick.
I don't want to remember. I don't want to say who it was because I don't remember who it was. So it's not me.
There you go. Even better.
Healing information, but they were like, yeah, this is why, same thing. Like, this is why Marvin Harrison didn't do anything at the combine because he wanted to show his deficiencies being slow. And this happens before with people that do that. And then people are all on there agreeing with them. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to me, but okay.
Well, and they tested his speed, like the same type of thing. They had the same tracking data for college. Ran 22.2 miles an hour.
I remember.
Like, what are we doing here? So I think this one's probably the most clear. A lot of these other ones are a little more ambiguous, but this one I feel like is the most clear. There's no in between for me. Like, this is the type of game I expect. Maybe not 29 points every single week, but I expect him to be a top 12 receiver, like, from here on out.
I may not expect 29 points, but I expect at least 18.5, Marv.
There you
every
go.
single week. That's what I expect. And yeah, I mean, this is
Agreed, man. I don't have a lot to add here. I firmly agree that he is going to be a top guy. I mean,
guess who I moved
that's all
above Jamar Chase in my Dynasty rankings.
Was it Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I like the consistency he brings to the table.
I did too. I actually did too. Which
You
is
like the
surprising.
consistency of him scoring 1.4 and then
So consistent.
29 points the next week.
I like a player that takes leaps and bounds.
He consistently gets better.
I mean,
Every week he's gotten better.
at this rate, next week he's going to score 60.
Exactly. I'm glad we
Now you're
cleared this
picking
up.
up what I'm laying down.
Glad we cleared this up.
He's a doubler. He's more than a doubler.
I saw somebody say, because we were even talking about beforehand, like the number of touchdown passes that have not happened
Passing
in
yards
the first 2
down.
weeks. And so, like, there was a graph of like how many, and it was averaging somewhere between like 80 and 120 touchdown passes through the first 2 weeks on normal years. And we were in like 60 something. And somebody tweets like, so what you're telling me is I should expect 25 passing touchdowns tonight. Got it.
God.
Jalen Hurts, I'm all in.
Dude, it's Australian football league, dude. Everything's down under. It's bad news out there, man. Come on, man.
And obviously, I mean, this is a byproduct of no one playing in the preseason. The passing game timing is just way off this early part of the season, and defense and the running game are the things that kind of have to get us there, right?
Run game's back, baby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
For now.
Yeah, I think that paired with how defensives have shifted and changed into, okay, we want more speed on the field. We're running a lot more too high. We're running a lot of shell. We're doing a lot of these things to help prohibit big explosive plays.
Just lends itself to, hey, let's run the ball.
Let's run the ball more, and let's
Yep.
it is fascinating. But even looking at like last night's game, I think is a great example. You look at Kirk Cousins in the first half, looked washed. Like he looked bad.
First 6 quarters. Doesn't even say first half.
Yeah. The game previous and then the first half of this game, like terrible. Those last couple drives, Kirk looked great. Like his rhythm, his timing is like everything. So, and I think that's just, hey, I needed to get back on the field. Hey, I needed to like play in real game situations with my receivers, not just guys in shoulder pads and helmets out there. Like I need real game timing.
I mean, it's almost like some of these guys should be playing in the preseason.
Matt, no way.
Yeah,
no way.
They got to be playing. They're doing to protect players. Instead, look where we are week 2, dude. One hit, out. I'm dead.
100%.
That's it. It's 100%. Over. It's just, bam, it's over. And you were mentioning that too. Like Peyton Manning made a good comment in there. He was talking to Matt Ryan during the Manning cast. He said, he's like, like I used to like it when I get a new offense, that 2-minute drill. I always felt better because those are the plays that we established week 1. Mm-hmm. Those are our core plays, and there's no thinking. It's just going out there and processing. That's why Kurt looked really good. It's because those are the most basic plays that he's going to know. There's nothing to really think about and process. It's go out there, execute.
The same formation over
and over again. And it's always funny because when you watch it, you go like, why doesn't everybody just run a 2-minute offense all the time? Because they always go downfield all the time. You ever know, like, when it's like, okay, they got a minute 30 to go downfield. It's never like, up, 4 and out, it's over. It's like, oh, first down. It's like,
well, I mean,
run that all the time.
I think Chip Kelly basically came into the NFL and tried to do that, right? And it just gassed his defense completely. Because if you do that, I mean,
and you don't get a first down,
don't succeed, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the problem.
It's a silly thought.
Yeah. No,
one of a million I've had.
No, I mean, it's valid. I'm sure other people thought it, but I do think there's some downside to it if you just run it all the time.
All right, Garrett, who's next on the list of polar opposites?
Aaron Jones, so the new running back for the Minnesota Vikings. Really, really nice week 1. He had 14 attempts, 94 yards, a touchdown, then also had 2 receptions for 15 yards. But week 2 wasn't nearly as good. 9 attempts for only 32 yards. Was involved in the passing game with 5 receptions, but only 36 yards. So 9.8 points. So basically cut his points in half. So do we think the week 1 Aaron Jones averaging around 18.9 points, or week 2 where he's averaging around 10 points, or is it somewhere in the middle? What should we be expecting from Aaron Jones?
I expect to be a little bit more in the middle. I think this was a weird week. I mean, Aaron Jones had a touchdown he should have caught that he fumbled for a touchdown. He should have had a touchdown and he fumbled. The receiving touchdown.
Basically at the goal line, right? I mean, that was...
Yeah, right. Like literally at the goal line. So when you look at what's going on here, I think where Aaron Jones is still hold a lot of value because we saw Ty Chandler come in. He was a much better rusher this year. So,
and that was going to be my question. He had
10
carries this week, and I know that was a guy that was like one of your sleepers or
a guy that I thought maybe everyone else was a little low on.
Yeah, had 82 yards. So yeah, that was kind of what I was wondering is this going to be more of a committee or no? Or
I think it's for sure going to be committee. I think he's going to eat Aaron Jones, but where I was going is like Aaron Jones is still going to dominate in the passing game. Mm-hmm. So even when you look at the routes run, he ran 20 routes. Ty Chandler only ran 9. So I think he's definitely going to eat in Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is still going to be the guy here. I'm going to go 1 week where Ty Chandler had a better rushing game than Aaron Jones to kind of like flip out. But I do think and Matt kind of alluded to that in our preseason. It's like, hey, go out and get Ty Chandler. Like, this is somebody, they've only got 2 running backs on the roster. They're not going to just rush Aaron Jones every single time out there. And it's kind of falling into exactly what you said. Even when it comes out to snaps played, Jones played 61% of the snaps. Ty Chandler played 35% of the snaps. It just turned out that Ty Chandler is way more efficient than Aaron Jones this week. So when you look at actual like snap, percentage plays, routes run, things on those lines,
all that's leaning towards
it all leans towards Aaron Jones. So I would stick a little bit more to the middle, but off of like week 1, compared to week 2. But I'll go back to what Matt said, and I think it's just Ty Chandler's here to stay. He's a factor, a flex play.
Continue to be
He'll
annoying.
eat in that.
Yeah.
But more like what we kind of thought, like almost like a 2-to-1 kind of ratio is where I see it.
And obviously the true value of him, I mean, he's done okay. Ty Chandler, 7.2 and 8.2. The real value would be, of course, if Aaron Jones went down, and that's where he would just plop right in. I think he can do a lot of the similar things. He can catch passes if you need him to. He wasn't really involved in that way in week 2, but in week 1, he caught 3 of 3 targets, so he can do it. And obviously, we've seen him be efficient and break some big runs in the running game too.
I think to keep in mind here as well, knowing that this is likely going to be somewhat of a timeshare, it's not a huge concern because most of Aaron Jones' career has been somewhat of a timeshare. He had Jamal Williams that shared a lot of time with, and then he had A.J. Dillon, who we shared a lot of time with. So I don't think this is departing from what Aaron Jones has always been.
Yeah, agreed.
Which is a very fine football player.
And absolutely. And I think to answer the question, which side, I think he's probably going to be closer to that 18 than the 9 most weeks.
Okay.
Myself, I think he'll live in that 13, 14, 15 range.
Okay.
So the middle.
Yeah. Is that? Yeah, I guess it kind of is. I guess it kind of is between 18 and 9.
Take that, cut it in half and double it.
13, 14, somewhere in there. Let's move on to Daniel Jones.
How many Jones?
Wrong Jones. Mr. Jones and me.
Well, the Jones guy on the island feeding people Kool-Aid next.
I don't know the reference.
Oh,
so
is that
the Jones
from
the Kool-Aid.
from Texas?
Yeah, but they went to the island and whatever and gave away the Kool-Aid. They all killed themselves to go to see the aliens.
Oh, that one.
Hence the
Waco, Texas.
That
guy.
cult.
Yeah, hence the saying, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Like,
Gotcha.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid, bro?
All right, Daniel Jones, week 1 was pretty rough for him.
I remember that one now.
Only 6.9 fantasy points, 22 of 44, 186 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and then had 15 yards rushing. But week 2, a lot better from a fantasy production standpoint, 18.9 fantasy points. He was 16 of 28, 178 yards, but he flipped the touchdowns and interceptions, had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and added 32 yards on the ground. So how worried or not are we about Daniel Jones and where he's going to be?
Danny Dimes is back.
He's back, baby. Hey, where's Danny Dimes on the week as quarterbacks when it comes to quarterbacks? Where did he finish his week 2?
Week 2?
Do you know where he finished? I do.
I could guess off of 18.9 points.
Go ahead, guess where he finished.
I'm going to
amongst all
guess
quarterbacks.
9.
6 is correct. He is
There you go.
QB
Good
6.
job.
That's a top. That's
I'm not looking at it
mid-range QB 1 right there on the week.
Which is sad that 18.9 is 6th. A guy that threw for 178 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's why I guess so high, because I know the passing numbers are so terrible.
But he also had 5 carries for 32 yards.
Sure, that
on
helps.
the ground.
Absolutely.
Again, he brings some of that mobility to the ground. And you're right. He actually had more passing yards, 186 last week, but it was the 2 interceptions that got him. And I think they're going to learn real quick here, and I think they learned this week. Just throw the ball to Malik Neighbors.
Yep, give it to Malik.
Like, don't even worry about anybody else.
He had an absurd target share.
Dude, it was
like 61% or something like that.
I think it was higher than that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was. I have other notes down here, but it was absolutely ridiculous. Like some of the the highest of
recent memory.
Yeah. So it's a simple concept. Just throw to Malik Neighbors. You have nobody else on your roster even worth throwing the football to. I mean, you might be able listen. I also say I'll give a little bit of credit here too. Devin Singletary looked really efficient.
He played well.
Yeah, good vision, elusive. He looked good. Made some real nice moves out there for him. So I think having a running game will help Daniel Jones.
Absolutely.
Use some play action there and just throw it to Malik Neighbors. Simple game plan. Either hand it to Devin, play action, Malik Neighbors, boom, QB6 on the year.
Nailed it, right? I mean, that's it. just those simple things, QB6 on the year.
Yeah, so if I had to lean one way or another, I'm going to go back towards the middle here. Because I will always like Daniel Jones' rushing upside. Dable's got to do something to protect his job here, too. I think he's going to kind of figure out and see what works. I think it also helps they weren't playing from a negative game script where they're down like 55 points, and this game was really close and they were somewhat in it. Game. So if they can play with that game strip, like really establish a run with Devin Singletary, and then just utilize Malik Neighbors and his skill set, I think it'd be enough to kind of keep Daniel Jones in that QB mid-range to low-end QB2 range, a viable quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues, because for me, I always thought Daniel Jones was not a terribly accurate quarterback. Now, he hasn't looked good the last couple of years, so I'm not going to sit here and defend him whatsoever. But I've always did love his rushing upside, too, and his mobility. He's always been more athletic than people just give him credit for. So if they can just play it safe and kind of run that game plan like they did this week, which, again, it's going to be hard not playing from a negative game script week in and week out for how bad their football team is. I think it'd somehow get them more to the middle, like drop them a whole round, like quarterback 18 to 19. And that's if we can just stay healthy, because again, everybody's gonna hurt. So at this rate, I'm just assuming everybody else is gonna get hurt. Who's gonna be the last man standing?
And the guy that had the injury to his neck last year is gonna stay healthy.
He's fine.
He's the guy.
Don't worry about the ACL. Don't worry about the neck injury.
Yeah. All that stuff's been fixed. He's pretty much bionic Daniel Jones.
All right.
I'll lean toward week 1 a little bit. It was the Washington Commanders, which is a pretty bad defense overall. And if there's any sell high window, which I doubt it because most people aren't high on him, but if anybody liked what they saw this week and were encouraged, maybe sell now, because they have to play Cleveland this next week, and it's probably not going to go.
I think you're using the wrong kind of high.
Well,
it'd be called buy high. Hey man, you want Daniel Jones?
Not quite at the basement.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna give you a dime, man. Yeah, all right.
Danny Dimes, I got it.
Come on, guys.
I'll smoke that.
Poor guy's already getting beat up every week.
Now he's getting smoked.
All right, I'm gonna lean more towards you, Garrett, on this one. I said it before we went into the season. This team feels like a team that's going to be headed kind of in a different direction, especially at the quarterback position, if not kind of organizationally as a whole. Yeah. So I think Danny Dimes is not going to have a great season. This was nice to see him do this. And put up a nice week 2, but I'm not sure he's going to be a top 6 guy week in and week out. I think he's probably going to be closer to that
24 to 28.
I retract my statement. I can't lean in the middle too much. If I had to lean one way, I'd have to lean towards week 1.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it was Washington. Yeah, and you're right, blowing it up, because when John Maher, the owner, was like, when he walked in on Hard Knocks, he was talking to Joe Shane. He's like, it'd be real hard for me to see Saquon leave. Definitely go to Philly. And then he leaves and goes to Philly.
He's doing fantastic.
Yeah, you guys are all going to get out here after this year.
Yeah. I said it was going to be hard, and it was, but this is going to be easy. Yeah, Goodbye.
I'm going to flush the toilet on this turd. So let's move on, shall we?
Hey, Nerd Herd. Dynasty Nerds has an incredible new offer from Underdog Fantasy for new customers. When you sign up as a new customer, you'll get a chance at their new customer free pick. But that's not all. Underdog is also offering incredible deposit bonuses. Use the promo code NERDS when you first sign up, and Underdog will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. That's right, $1,000 to kickstart your fantasy football journey. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up today with promo code NERDS and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. And in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.
Worthy here. Week 1, he had the big week, 20.8 points, 3 targets, 2 receptions for 47 yards on the touchdown. Also had a rushing touchdown, a 21-yarder there. So big week 1, national audience. Obviously gets a lot of love, a lot of hype. Week 2, things don't work out quite as well. 4 targets, so actually 1 more target than the week before. 2 receptions, only 17 yards though, no touchdown. Did have a rushing attempt for 5 yards. 4.2 points is what he finished with. So very different weeks. Even though the opportunities were similar, the results were very different. So how do we feel about Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I definitely lean towards the latter there, just because the first week was just, he had those 2 big, he had
absolutely
4 touches, 2 big monster plays, which is, again, it's a roller coaster worthy kind of player, right? Because like he's that kind of speed. What's interesting about Xavier Worthy so far through 2 games is And not even just Xavier Worthy, the Chiefs so far, they're running a lot of 12 personnel. Over 50% of the time, they're running 12 personnel out there, which is going to take Xavier Worthy off the field. Like even this week's game, like I think he started the field on the sidelines. He wasn't even in the starting lineup to start the game. And you look at target shares through the week, so far through 2 weeks, you got Rashee Rice seeing 28.3%, Isaiah Pacheco seeing 15.1%. So that's going to change somewhere. That can help Worthy and Kelsey.
Sure.
Then you got Worthy and Kelsey at 13.2%. So that could help them there. So right now, what's also interesting with Worthy too is they're targeting him and using him really close to the line of scrimmage, which wasn't really necessarily in his game set even at Texas. Like he's a really good downfield runner. Good route runner downfield too, because remember we watched his tape out of Texas saying, hey, this isn't just a regular speedster. He can actually run routes and play football. So I think the jury's still out on Xavier Worthy. I think he has the potential to score 20 points per game, definitely being tied to Pat Mahomes. Definitely with the negative regression of Travis Kelce over the last, outside that playoff game, the last almost year with him there. But at the same time, I think it's been also well established here. Rashee Rice is the clear number one receiver in this offense. Getting almost 30% of the target shares, being very efficient with his targets as well. But as the season picks up, the loss of Pacheco, they're probably going to throw the football a little bit more here as well. We'll see if that leans towards Worthy, which I would guess. It's so hard to predict too because even the target share is dead equal with Travis Kelce.
Right.
But if I had to lean one or the other, this week I would lean towards the latter, right? Like that 10 points, between 10, 12 points. That's a real common, the wide receiver 2 on a team. That's a really good receiving total on a week in, week out basis. With, of course, he's so explosive. You'll have those games where he'll have the 20 points because he has the multiple touchdowns. He has the 70-yard reception or 80-yard end around. So it's there. Maybe it all equals out the end on a points per game basis, but right now, and at least in year one, I expect more of a roller coaster ride with Xavier Worthy.
That was going to be my point. I think now while he's still establishing himself and kind of his role, I think it is going to be a little bit up and down. There are going to be weeks when they really exploit a defense on either one of those reverses or they do start using him downfield a little bit, or he just breaks a little screen pass because they are using him in that fashion. So I think he is going to be a little bit hard to nail down. Obviously if you're a contender, I don't know that this is a guy you're going to love week in and week out. But if you got him in this draft and you're not a contender, just sit back, enjoy watching him kind of evolve and I think grow in this offense, and better days are to come, and more, I think, a more even ride eventually. But I think, even then, unless he turns into Tyreek Hill, which I don't know that anyone can, right? You are still going to have a little bit of built-in kind of up and down no matter where you are.
No, and I think that's perfectly fair. And what you said about better days are ahead, I think that's absolutely true. This offense is notorious for being one of the more difficult ones for guys to figure out, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to really get into the offense.
I mean, Sky Moore never figured it out, right?
He never figured out Mecole
Hardman.
It took him a while, and even when he did, it wasn't great. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that get the opportunity, and it just doesn't quite pan out. But I think this is a perfect snapshot of what you should expect. Like, yes, expect 20-point games, but also expect 4-point games. Like, it's going to be up and down. He's the perfect guy for if you're projected to lose by 6, and I need somebody that I need that big play guy. I don't need the safety. I need somebody to help put me over the top. Xavier Worthy is a great one in there, but if you're projected to win by 15 points and you're like, I just need a guy to make sure it gets me 10 points this game, he's probably not the guy that you want to put in the starting lineup. So I think it's a little bit of roster construction and management depending on what you have that week, what you need that week, that kind of thing. Great best ball player, and I think he will eventually be a guy that's averaging more like 6 to 7 touches or targets a game. I think he'll get there, but I still think it's going to be not until very end of the year and maybe even into next year until you start to see that.
I still love his dynasty value. I still think he's a long-term, double-digit points per game. Definitely being tied with Pat Mahomes there, because you got to imagine having a first-round pick at receiver, having a second-round pick receiver with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. Once Travis Kelce's done tie with Pat Mahomes, they're both going to eat pretty well here.
And we're already seeing the kind of them sunsetting him a bit, right, out of the offense. I mean,
it's taken
although
to the pasture.
The thing that's going to help him is with Pacheco out. We saw a couple years where they basically used Travis Kelce as their running game, where a lot of short underneath passes for him to just kind of keep moving the chains. So
4 or 5 yards. Here's this little out pass. Bing.
Yep, exactly. So
there you are in the middle, uncovering in the middle.
That might come back a little bit with Pacheco being out. So
we talked about it in the injury show. You know, Travis had that big catch at the end of the game last year. He got called back for hands to the face from the left tackle, where he still looked pretty good. And that's why I brought up the target share with Pacheco, seeing 15.1%. Pacheco's been the second leader in targets there, so that will have to dissipate elsewhere. Right. And I would expect it would go towards Kelce. I am interested where it goes to Worthy.
For sure.
Question for you guys, 2 weeks in, overreaction time. If you can go back in time today, after 2 weeks, again, this could be a complete overreaction. I don't love to do it after doing all the year-long tape. Would you take Brian Thomas over Xavier Worthy if you can go back today? I don't need to go in depth. I'm just a quick yes or no.
I don't think so for me.
Okay. Matt?
I'm struggling to figure out where I had them ranked anyway. I think I had them pretty darn close.
They're close.
Oh, man, they're both really good players.
Yeah.
And Brian Thomas, I think, has a pretty legit shot at being the number one there. So I might just end up taking Brian Thomas and just feel good about it and know that I'm going to have an alpha dog and tied to a pretty decent quarterback as well.
That's why I asked. You have a guy who looks like he's going to be the alpha X in Jacksonville, and I mentioned with the Rishi Rice looking like he's the clear-cut number one here in Kansas City. For now, again, we're only 2 weeks in. Would that flip the scales for anybody? Again, 2 weeks in. Overreaction, underreaction, doesn't matter. So next on the list here, we have Kyler Murray. After week 1, he went 21 for 31, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 attempts for 57 yards, scored 14.2 points. If you remember that game, he didn't really push the ball downfield at all. Game 2, he comes out with a perfect passer rating, right? 158.3 with 17 of 21. Good for 81% completions there. 3 touchdowns, 266. What do you have? You have 301 yards here?
301 yards.
301 yards and 59 yards rushing, 28.5 points receiving.
I'm going to go a little bold here. I think it's going to be closer to the latter than the former. I think this was something that I remember talking about all offseason, is one of the guys that isn't getting enough credit for, one, being injured last year and still putting up just under 20 points a game as a guy coming off his injury. Then you look at him adding the best college prospect that I've ever seen at the wide receiver position, as far as my personal scouting, as the highest score that I've given. And then Trey McBride, a second year in the offense, Kyler, second year in the offense. Like, all of this seems to be marrying into, this could be a really big year for Kyler Murray. And we're starting to see that in the rushing too. It's not like he's running around like crazy. 5 attempts in both games, but what were they? Over 50 yards, almost 60 yards in both games on those attempts. So he's finding those opportune moments to run, but he's looking to scramble around in the backfield and make plays to receivers down the field. So it is very early, but I think this could be one of those years where, man, Kyler Murray finished as a top 3 quarterback this year. Like, that would not surprise me if that's what we see by the end of the season.
Well, I mean, at this pace, it won't be pretty hard.
No.
And I hate to do this again, but like, I would lean a little bit towards the middle, because I think he would average. Listen, you can't expect him to go out there and have a perfect.
No, he's not going to
put up for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and rush for pretty much 60 yards every game. So I think if you pull back a touchdown there and a little bit on a yardage, you're going to get closer to that 20 points, which again still gets you top 3, right? Like, yeah. I mean, I think Josh Allen finished last year's QB1 averaging like 24 points per game. Yeah. So like, that still gives you a top 3 finish there. But I think it's to be from 14 points to 28. If I'm going closer to 20, that would lean closer to week 1.
I think I have him more like a 22 to 24. Like, I think he's going to have arguably his biggest season yet.
And that would be huge. I think I lean towards, as long as he's healthy, I think it's going to be this. Mm-hmm. And to me, it always goes back to his health, because I think in small bursts we've seen this story play out many times for Kyler Murray.
He's been a top 3 guy before,
absolutely. And it's it's when he gets dinged, does his efficiency go down and the fantasy points go down? And historically, yes, they do. So, I mean, we'll see if he can hold up. He's 5'10" on a good day, and and stay healthy. Then these are the kind of things that he can do on a routine basis, because that's the kind of athlete he is. That's the kind of quarterback he is. But let's just I guess cross our fingers that he is eating his bananas, the nutrition is good, everything is all right, and he stays healthy.
And that's the thing with him. He's consistently at the end of the year gets banged up, and we see his numbers drop, and they do drop pretty drastically. And you can start the season off super strong.
Yep.
And when you need him the most, he's kind of out there, kind of like Tua when he gets into the bad weather, right? Like it's it's you're real strong during the regular season. When you're there for the playoffs, you're not as strong.
For what it's worth, his 2020 campaign, which would have been his second season, he averaged 24.4 points per game. That put him number 2 on the season overall.
Yeah, so lean towards the latter. The higher 28 points per game. It's the rushing side that's always going to give him there.
Yep.
Having Marvin Harrison Jr., having Trey McBride.
He's a good passer of the football. It is not just his legs that get him there. He is very good in that aspect. For me, it is only his health and his size that worries me. I like Kyler Murray. Other than that, it's just
accurate and very strong arm as well.
Right.
Throws a really good ball. It's always going to be injury concerns with Kyler.
It is.
Always has been.
Yep.
All right, next guy on the list we have here is Mike Gesicki. Week 1, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 18 yards, 4.8 points. Came out this week, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 91 yards. Led the team with 25% target share.
He had a big week.
No T. Higgins. T. Higgins missed another week out here. Ishovis had a touchdown there, almost had 2. Or I think it was
Yoshevich, he had 2.
Yoshevich had 2.
Trust me, I played against him, and I was like, "You started him, you little jerk."
We didn't want to. We should have had. I think he was supposed to have a touchdown, then came back and got it the very next play. But listen, I liked Mike Gesicki. We were talking about him someone in the offseason coming in here and being kind of part of this offense.
He was really close in week 1 to coming down with a touchdown, which would have boosted him. And really, he wouldn't be even on this list, right?
Yeah. It looked like a touchdown week 1. He even did the
remember
we talked about the terrible gritty.
He did his
unseasoned gritty.
I lean towards the latter. I really do. With Jamar Chase getting all the coverage out there, the running game just being okay, the offensive line still just okay, being Joe Burrow's safety net there in the middle.
And let's face it, Joe Mixon isn't there anymore, right? And he was a threat in the passing game to catch passes. I think they're going to have to lean on somebody else. Even when T. Higgins comes back, I think there's still room for him to kind of be there and operate. I don't know that he's going to get 9 targets regularly, but 7, 8. I mean, 6, 7, 8. I think is pretty reasonable for him.
They have a big week to do it too. They're playing Washington this week, so it's
not a good.
Obviously,
secondary.
It's a great positive week for regression week for Jamar Chase because he's finally this is going to be his 3rd week actually practicing and playing. So very, very high like chance of Jamar Chase with the positive regression. So I would not be surprised too. Again, even though he's on the coverage, he's going to open everything back up for Mike Gesicki. I think Mike Gesicki's in line to finish as a tight end 1 here. If this continues, if he can stay healthy, always a super athletic guy that can make a ton of good catches here. Just for some reason, it's never really a part of the game plan. Doesn't get a ton of separation, but I think it works in this offense.
It's really interesting too because you're right. He's been almost like budget Kyle Pitts, where like everybody keeps waiting for the breakout, and it just never seems to come. Like it just never seems to happen. So it's funny, but you're right. This is a great offense for him. We saw last year, what was it, Tanner Hudson or whoever it was?
They really started passing to the tight ends out of the blue last year.
Out of nowhere. Yep. And Mike Gesicki's always had the raw athleticism to be a main guy. And so far, the tight end, for how much we talked about in the offseason, how excited we were, it's 2 weeks, it's very early, but all this excitement about the tight end position, it's been a total letdown so far at the position. We've only had one player that has had back-to-back double-digit weeks. Only one, Brock Bowers. That's it. Everyone else has already had at least one. Like Sam Laporta had like 3 points this week. Travis Kelce's been a dud. Like just everybody has been underwhelming. So anything at the position right now could get you pretty excited. And I think Mike Gesicki has the opportunity and isn't lacking the ability. So we'll see.
Yeah, when you go back to it, when we talk to tight ends as well, like it's all about target share. So even at 4 targets in week 1 was nice for going into week 1. You go into week 2 with the 9 targets. That's absolutely disgusting. Mike Gesicki in PPR leagues currently sitting at tight end 5. Above him is Hunter Henry as tight end 4. I expect that to continue because there's nobody else to throw the football to. He's seen like a 50. He's seen a crazy target share as well. He's sitting at tight end 4. Then you got Kittle, Bowers, and Isaiah Likely still living off that week 1 performance. So with Mike Gesicki at 20.9 points, right behind him is Trey McBride at 20.7. When you look at guys that had the opportunity to come out here and overtake him, when the guys that we like a lot, Mark Andrews down there at tight end 14. Sam Laporta is so far down, I can't even find him. Dalton Kincaid, only 10 points so far on the year.
All of these guys have been super underwhelming.
Yeah, not good whatsoever. I mean, even Travis Kelce, you mentioned 8 points on the year. 8 points on the year. So I think if Mike Gesicki could just stay consistent here, he's in line for a good tight end 1 finish. And that's all you're looking for from a tight end, right? Like once you get outside those elite guys, which, listen, it only takes one good game from any of these guys, from Laporta.
Right, absolutely.
And a 20-point game catapults them to tight end 1. I mean, Isaiah Likely only had 4 points this week, tight end 1 overall.
Still sitting there at
tight end 1 overall of a one big game. So that's the thing where, like, 1 week can make such a massive difference. Even in the regular season, we could be in week 14, somebody has a 30-point game, and they go from tight end, 14 to tight end 7 overall.
Yes.
It's that much of a difference.
Absolutely. Well, let's get in. I think we're going to skip one guy. Let's go to just the last one here because this was a guy that I think most people, including us, buried. And all of a sudden, he's a zombie. And he's stuck his hand out the grave, and he is seemingly alive. Quentin Johnston, after an extremely disappointing rookie campaign. Week 1, the numbers weren't overall there, but there were some signs that, okay, maybe he's not completely dead. 5 targets, 3 receptions, 38 yards, only 6.8 points, so nothing to get overly excited about. Wasn't worth really talking about in week 1. Week 2, though, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 51 yards, but the big thing, 2 touchdowns in week 2 there, 22.1 points. So where are we at with Quentin Johnston?
Listen, I think he has taken a step forward. I don't know that he's where he needs to be the number 1 guy there in LA or anything like that, but I think he's taken a nice step forward. Both of those touchdown catches, if you watch the games and you watch those plays, they were body catches, which I know that Rich was going to mention if I didn't mention. So I just figured I would. And one of them, he was wide open. Like, just catch it with your hands, dude.
He was wide open.
A little wide open.
He's like, this ball can't go nowhere. It's my baby.
So I don't know. It's it might be a little bit of fool's gold. In my opinion, I'm still leaning closer to the 6.8 than the 22.
I am as well.
But I think he could be a low double digit per week guy, especially with the fact that there's not a lot of people there to catch passes. It's Ladd McConkey and him. Yeah. So, I do really think that it's probably closer to 10, 11 points a game than 22, but he's taken at least a mini step in the right direction. I think he's getting some good separation and stuff like that. He's moving well.
Yeah.
Which, was at least a little bit of a question mark. Can he get separation and stuff like that at the NFL level?
Yeah, piggyback. I agree with everything Matt said there. 100%. Definitely it's looking better. Steering in the right direction there. After this 1 week, in week 2, he led his team in targets, routes, air yards, receiving. He led the team. But when you look at it so far through 2 games, when it comes to actual target share, him and Ladd McConkey are tied, with 24%. They're both right there. We kind of were intrigued by Josh Palmer as well, but Josh Palmer, I know he's a little banged up too, but
don't ever call me intrigued by that, man. 400-yard Josh Palmer is never going to.
Maybe we brought his name up. But we
had to bring up everybody on the team because somebody has to catch passes.
His target share is worse than it was last year already through 2 games. I know he's been banged up, so I think it's definitely Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey. Obviously, they're 2 highest investments when it comes to draft capital. 1 high in the second round they trade up for, and obviously the first round pick in Quentin Johnston. 2 touchdowns, you're always going to lean. That's an outlier regression there, always.
Especially for a team that isn't looking to throw the ball as much. I don't think there's going to be a ton of touchdown opportunities like there would be in Buffalo or, someplace like that. They're looking to run the football, and J.K. Dobbins looks amazing. But
Justin Herbert's hobbled.
Yeah, he is.
So he's a little...
Justin hobbled.
Justin hobbled is a little hobbled out there. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the latter here. But that being said, for somebody who, I've doo-dooed all over Quentin Johnston now for over a year. So I want to give
at least
some
alive.
positive here. He's looking, I mean, hand through the grave. Like we got something going on here. It's like Freaky Friday. You know what I mean? Cue the Michael Jackson Thriller. Something's going on. So positive signs for Quentin Johnston. Like really is. Like if they can, if Jim Harbaugh can figure out how to get the best out of Quentin Johnston, then you have a viable fantasy football asset.
Yep.
Which is for anybody who owns Quentin Johnston. I have 0.0 shares because I wasn't foolish. I didn't want him on my roster.
I didn't either.
This is a very
Same Z's.
Yeah, this is a very positive sign, right? You went from being, man, I spent a first round rookie pick on a dead asset to, wow, there's something coming on
There's
here.
a heartbeat.
And he could be, even if he's just like the red zone target, big play target, like that's something you have going on. It's not you still want to really start him, but like it's something to look positive towards.
Absolutely. We have a segment that we're going to probably start doing weekly here. We didn't have a chance to squeeze it in week one just because we had so much to talk about. But we're going to try to squeeze it in week one. And this is our free show, one of our 2 free shows we put out every week. But we also have a Nerd Hurt show so that it's exclusively for our people that are our closest companions. It's for them. And we ask them, hey, give us some of your trades. And I have one here, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts. This is his name is not cut off. This is literally his Discord name here. I clicked into it to double check. It's just C. That's his Discord name. He says
I for sure thought this because I got this thing split screen.
Yeah.
I was like, that's got to be.
Oh yeah, it's just cut off. Nope, it is not. That is his name. He says he's a borderline contender, and this is a Superflex tight end premium. He said he received Tyreek Hill, traded away a 2025 first and Zay Flowers. So let's assume it's his first. So his first and Zay Flowers for Tyreek Hill on a borderline contender. Fellas, how do we feel about the trade of the week?
Zay Flowers sitting right now at wide receiver 15. Tyreek sitting right now at wide receiver 18. I just wanted to get that out of the way first so we knew what was going on prior to getting into
To an IR.
So
that means he's gone at least 4 weeks.
So we're looking at Skylar Thompson for at least a couple of weeks, right? Until Tyler Huntley.
Minimum 4 weeks.
No, until Tyler Huntley takes over, learns the offense, takes over.
Yeah. As crazy as this sounds for somebody who hasn't loved Zay Flowers, I loved how Zay was used heavily the first half of the game, not as heavily the second half of the game too, which he still had a big week, which is really crazy. Like Matt sat sitting at wide receiver 15. As a contender, Tyreek Hill's so talented. It doesn't really matter like who the quarterback is there. But where I'm going to lean here is I'm going to lean the Zay Flowers side because as of right now, I love next year's draft class. Mm-hmm. I feel like the streak's going to continue of another studly class. We have some really good running backs. We've got some really good receivers. We've already got some quarterbacks stepping up that look pretty solid. With Quinn Ewers looking better. Yeah. Carson Beck's still a very solid quarterback out there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he'll test very, very well. So it looks like we have another deep class. A couple tight ends go in there, even the Loveland kid out of Michigan.
Yeah, he looks good.
So we're gonna have it's gonna be a really deep class. So the fact you're gonna get a 25 first as a contender. So you get 2 first as a contender, which isn't. Oh, he's getting Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
so he's trading away. So you're getting away the first.
Yeah, and that's hard because I want to speak well of our nerd herd, but I like the Flowers first side.
I'll say it's a fair trade.
I think it's a fair
trade. You're getting
trade.
the upside of Tyreek Hill, and the Zay Flowers thing can collapse at any moment. But Flowers right now seeing 28% of the targets for the Ravens right now. Like he's the alpha there when it comes to receiver. If it's not Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely, it's Zay Flowers. So he's seeing 28% of the targets. Isaiah Likely is seeing 20 right now, and obviously that's a little diluted from week one because. After that, he kind of like regressed, which is we all said he would there.
Expect, yeah.
But then you look at the number 2 receiver out there, Rashad Bateman. He's only seeing 12% of the targets.
They're using him almost exclusively as a deep threat. They're just like chucking the ball downfield to Rashad Bateman, right?
So on a guy who's going to see a ton of targets on here for a team that with the the defense just being okay with a very leaky offensive line, so you can't trust that run game. So they're going to have to throw the football here at times as well. I lean towards the first and Zay Flowers here. But if you're a contender, like I don't hate chasing that upside. Definitely have a late push of Tyreek Hill. I would just lean that. I'd say this is a fair trade. I lean towards the Zay Flowers side.
So I said all that earlier, and I do think, obviously, Zay Flowers right now sitting above him in the ranks. And there's got to be some concern, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen with Tua. There hasn't been any sort of long-term announcement on with him. Obviously, if
he said he has no plans to retire, they did ask him.
No, I know, but we don't know that he's coming back after 4 weeks.
4 weeks,
on the IR. We don't know anything about, So without knowing that, this one's very difficult to kind of gauge, because if he's out all season with the head injury, I think this is easily Zay Flowers. There's not even like a batting of the eye. But if he's planning on coming back and maybe it's only 4 weeks, I still think there's plenty of juice left in Tyreek Hill that might be the better side for a contender this year. And obviously Flowers has done some good things through 2 weeks, and the Ravens offense, I think, has looked surprising. The way that I would say that, it's looked odd to me. It doesn't look like what I expected the Ravens offense to be. They go out and get Derrick Henry. I would have figured there would have been more of an emphasis getting him involved a lot more, and kind of running him into the ground almost this last year kind of type of move here. But they've been spreading the ball around quite a bit, and Zay Flowers has been involved a lot, but it's gotten them 0 wins on the season. Mm-hmm. So at what point do they revert back to kind of, hey, man, we need to run the ball more?
I don't think they can, Matt. The offensive line's terrible.
Yeah, it's
that was one of my biggest concerns in the preseason when we broke down the Ravens. Like, I'm really concerned they lost 3 key offensive linemen here. I don't think they can go that. It's going to kill Derrick Henry. I think we're going to talk about Derrick Henry
we're going to talk about next show. Yep.
So for me, I don't think they can, Matt. That's why Lamar's running so much. I mean, he always runs, but he's getting the outside edge because there's nothing there in the middle to even go to. So I think they're going to have to utilize that, and that's why I said they're going to have to throw the football because of the offensive line. And you're right, it's pretty close. As of right now, going into it with Skylar Thompson, he scored 6.6 points off his first week. You mentioned that Zay Flowers is wide receiver 15, Tyreek is 17. There's a 0.3 difference over their whole game.
Basically nothing.
Per game. Yeah. So, it's the upside. Exactly what I said. The upside's Tyreek Hill for sure, but then I lean towards Zay Flowers because you're right. The uncertainty of Tua Tagovailoa. We have no idea if it's going to be 4 games, if it's going to be the season, if it's going to be half the season. We don't know what. We don't know if he'll get medically cleared. Remember last time when he had that big concussion, we were waiting like, wow, he's still sitting out. He didn't get cleared. It was, how long was it? A month and a half?
Weeks, I don't remember, but it was a long time, and that's why I brought it up. And that's why I was like, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's what, if I know for sure that it's only 4 weeks, I'm leaning towards Tyreek, and I don't.
You know who the number one receiver is?
So I can't. You know what I mean?
You know who the number one receiver in Miami is?
The number one receiver as far as targets, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, targets, target share.
I know who it is.
Yards.
I mean, it's got to be Devon Achane.
It's Devon Achane. Yeah, he's the number one receiver.
And that's the thing. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot of short stuff. And that's the thing for Zay Flowers. Like, honestly, for me, at this point in their careers, I get it. It's a contender move.
Yeah.
But it's Zay for Tyreek Hill, I think, is a fair trade, like, at this point. So if I'm getting a first on top of it, I mean, you take a 30-year-old receiver that doesn't have his quarterback.
I mean, it's outlier. It's like calling Alvin Kamara old.
Sure, but if you could give me,
the
similar comp.
The first is why I want the trade.
Right, like I think those guys are pretty even. Like, you could argue Tyreek Hill, sure, that's fine, but I think it's pretty even. You get a whole first, like, on top, like, that seems overboard to me personally.
You also have a picture of Zay Flowers on your underwear, so
I do. It's a Speedo, actually, but whatever. But
not a lot of room on that
thing. I just think you look at the target share, you look at how this offense is going to continue to play. I think it's going to be a lot of short stuff, and Lamar Jackson loves to play in the middle of the field. That's why the tight ends have always been so good for him. He throws the ball to the middle of the field. He does not like to throw outside the hash marks.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers plays in the middle of the field for the most part. Yep. So I think this trend continues.
All right, before we go into our next segment, I just want to mention too that Mike McDaniels came out and said today, because me and Matt talked about too, like how they just when I broke down Devon Achane's tape, I was like, man, I know he's smaller, but like he's got the size and compactness where, like, he showed me on tape he could run between the tackles. Yeah. He showed he got the 20 carries. And Mike McDaniel came out today. He's like, They're like, wow, do you think you gave Devon too many touches? He's like, honestly, man, like he's making a strong case. We need to give him more touches.
That's what I like to hear.
And I was like, 6 to midnight, baby. 6 to midnight. Give me more shares. Yeah. I went back to maybe those. I'm going to put a Devon Achane trade out there. Or I gave up Tyreek Hill in a second for like Achane. Somebody's like, oh, wow. Like people were like, you overpaid. And I'm like, did I?
Did I?
All right. What's our next segment here?
All right, last one here. We're going to do a quick round of pick your poison. So I think right now, early in the season, we've started forming some opinions about players. Curious if we had to restart things or if we were to make a trade, where you would land on some of these players. So let's start with the first one here. Let's talk about our current running back 3, J.K. Dobbins, another big week, over 130 yards, another touchdown, or Rhamondre Stevenson, who's played very well for New England here. So who would you rather have for your fantasy football teams, J.K. Dobbins or Rhamondre Stevenson?
I think J.K. Dobbins is now running back 4. Saquon passed him.
Oh, Saquon passed him last night. Okay. So that would move Rhamondre to 9 then.
To 9. So we're talking about 4 and 9. But regardless,
It don't matter,
I just want the information to be correct.
Sure. And Bijan might have passed him too, honestly.
He didn't. No. It's Bijan is down somewhere.
Yeah,
lower.
Bijan's
14.
behind James
14.
Cook.
Okay.
Yep. But anyway, right now I think, obviously Rhamondre is going to represent, I think, a more stable individual, but the upside is with J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to lean towards him and ride this wave. He looks amazing. And he looked better in week 2 than he did in week 1. Mm-hmm. And they were even talking about him like doing sprints and stuff like that to kind of get his legs back underneath him for like long runs and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think he's making a push there. I don't know what the heck they did to his Achilles, if they pumped it through like with a piston or something. Something is in there.
Spin on that thing.
That thing is going, man. He looks great. It's kind of an amazing story that he was able to come back from that and look this good. So I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins just because I think he offers big time explosion, and they're going to run the heck out of the ball there, and we know that. So J.K. Dobbins, big to the moon.
Clear cut, easy decision. J.K. Dobbins here. He looks so good, and they still haven't even decided. He's still not. I think he's getting less carries than Gus Edwards at this point. Their yards per carry is drastically different. I think
it's not even close. Yeah.
I think J.K.'s averaging like 9.9 yards per carry.
When
he's healthy, he averages like 5.6 yards per carry too when he's healthy. This is a player that looks absolutely dynamic. I just hope this is the year. Me and Matt were kind of talking about in the injury show, like, can he just stay healthy? Can this be like that Raheem Mostert year where he stays 100% healthy? Yep. And remember, Raheem Mostert, fully healthy, finishes running back 2 overall weeks 1 through 17 last year.
Gus Edwards, 29 carries, 2.9 yards per carry. JK, 27, 9.9 yards per carry.
Bonkers.
Not going to be long.
I'm not Albert Einstein, but that's a 7-yard difference, buddy. Yeah, count your fingers, bruh. And listen, Rhamondre still looked really good this week.
He did, but against a tougher defense.
Versus a tougher defense, and the team kind of pivoted to what I thought they were going to do, and they got Antonio Gibson finally involved. It wasn't involved week 1 at all. Came back in. I think Rhamondre was still like a running back, like 15, somewhere on there, like a top 15 running back. Mm-hmm. Antonio Gibson was like running back 24 on a week. Yeah. Nothing crazy, like 10, 11 points.
Sure.
But I think Antonio Gibson will get more involved there as well. I think they're going to have to for this team. They can't just, otherwise they'll bury
They just don't have the playmakers on the outside.
And that's the hard part, is they're going to be a team that's running the ball way more than other teams. So Rhamondre could get 20 touches and Gibson could still get 10.
Yeah.
It's not one of those ones where there's only 25 to split up. Right. No, we've got like 30, 40 touches between you two that we can split up.
I'm all in on JK. I can't. He's already, I tweeted out earlier in the year, and since then, I think I tweeted out after week 1, and since then, I've even traded and acquired another share. He is my most owned player. I'm in 25 Dynasty leagues. I had the most shares of J.K. Dobbins.
I'm close. He's not quite my most owned, but he's close.
And I want more. Yeah. Like, he's only 25 years old. Like Matt said, I don't know what they did to his Achilles. I'm so happy that this is clearly now not like a career-ending injury.
Right. Something shifted and changed. And we saw a couple receivers. I think Emmanuel Sanders was one of them.
Yeah.
Where we saw a couple guys that were like, but running back's such a different position. We'll see, Clearly the medicine's catching up, and they're doing some good things.
Deontay Foreman was the first, K-Maker's second, now J.K. Dobbins is the third. Yeah. All have been progressively better. So if he's healed, which it looks like he's more explosive his top end speed was still very, very high, which is, I can't remember what he hit on the game, but it was pretty high. And that's something that's just last thing to come back with Achilles injury. So we were talking to Matt. Me and Matt were talking about this, Garrett. Like, I would give up, if I'm a contender, I'd give up a late first for J.K. Dobbins.
I would too.
I'd feel pretty comfortable about that. I think he finishes as a running back 1. I'm real intrigued where this goes. Obviously, at this pace, running back.
Doesn't it seem hilarious now that our bold prediction was a top 18 running back? And it really was bold at the time.
I know it's only 2 weeks in, but I think there's like 5 bold predictions I made that I feel really good about already.
Yep.
So I can't wait to go. I don't usually boister about that, but I did say at the beginning of the year, I was like, man, usually I go like real boisterous and get real crazy. I was like, I'm going to be trying a little bit more realistic this year, and I feel real good about this. Go back and listen to our bold predictions.
We did pretty good.
You didn't do it.
We did pretty good.
Again, we're 2 weeks in.
Right.
Look at
J.K.
us.
Dobbins gets hurt tomorrow.
Call me Mrs. Cleo. Look at what's going on. I'm putting these crystal balls back out here.
I will say we're 3 for 3 on this, and part of the reason I put Rhamondre as the guy there is I think that's a realistic trade chip you could move for a J.K. Dobbins, because somebody's going to look at the stability. He's been an RB1 before. And I'm a guy, I think I'm the resident Rhamondre guy over the past couple of years on this show. Like, I'm a big fan of his. I still have plenty of shares, but give me the upside in this offense of J.K. Dobbins over Rhamondre Stevenson.
There's not many running backs I honestly wouldn't trade straight up for J.K. Dobbins. I know it sounds crazy to say, but like, outside of the elite guys like Devon A-Chain, Saquon Barkley, Bijan,
Breeze, Gibbs.
And Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, there's not many guys out there.
ETN?
Yeah, I mean, ETN's not looking as efficient out there.
ETN's a good I think that's a great one to measure him against, right? Because he's going to get the volume, even though he's not super efficient. He's going to get the volume and
that'll definitely get it done. You could probably get plus on top.
The work in the passing game and all that kind of stuff to be in the conversation as a top 8 guy.
Yeah, I would still lean ETN.
Yeah.
But
if you got a nice plus on top, would you take Dobbins up?
Oh, it doesn't even have to be a nice plus.
Just a little plus.
It's got to be an okay plus.
Here's a 4th. Okay, you got me.
And that's the thing. Like, if you ask me what I want, which is the player where I have some of my shares, like, I want J.K. Dobbins, right? Because now I see he's healthy. That's my only concern. It's all my ever concern has been with J.K. Dobbins. So, like, if I can get J.K. Dobbins plus for ETN, I'm doing it. If I can get J.K. Dobbins plus for James Cook, I'm doing it. Jordan Mason straight up, go ahead and do it. Rhamondre straight up, I'll do it. Brian Robinson, who's looked really good, I'll do it. Kenneth Walker, I would trade Kenneth Walker.
That was gonna be the other one I was gonna ask.
I'd trade Kenneth Walker for him. Josh Jacobs, I mean, it's pretty closer with Josh Jacobs. It sucks because they're both right around the same age too. That's a tough one. I'd probably want to lean towards the guy I like the most though, like J.K. Dobbins, but give me just a little bit plus. The problem is,
if you're a contender, Mixon or Kamara.
Well, Mixon's banged up right now, but I'd still, if I'm a contender, I'm just still holding on to Mixon because he's getting all the touches.
Kamara's hard too, man.
Oh, I ain't giving up Kamara either. No, dude, he's running back 1 on a year.
That offense has been.
He's a goat of running backs. Yeah,
hilariously.
I mean,
good
you have
right now.
LT, LaShawn McCoy, and Alvin Kamara. If you want to go back the last 20 years for dynasty running backs, there's 3 goats. And there's a Mount Rushmore.
There's a couple more. Matt Forte's in that group as well.
Forte's kind of.
Trust me, I did the top 100 series that tanked.
Jamal Charles.
I know who all is up there.
Probably the other guy.
Jamal Charles. Yep. Yeah. So Forte, Jamal Charles,
LT,
LaShawn McCoy, and Kamara. But Kamara will finish with the most running back 1 seasons. All
of them. LT had 8 straight.
Okay. Well, he's about to have 7 straight.
It's true.
So
we'll see. All right.
Well, LT's
the man.
He also had like a 27 touchdown season, and
the
difference is him being inside the top 3. As we have a lot of Kamara inside the top 12, like 6 to 12. LT was like consistently top 3.
My top 3 all-time favorite running backs: Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Nick Chubb.
That's a good list.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good list.
Those are my top 3 all-time running backs. And I'm hoping Devon A-Chain makes this list.
Ew. All right, let's move on here. We got a couple more to do. Baker Mayfield, currently quarterback 1. Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy's not been very efficient this year so far.
He has not. And the hard part with Purdy, that somehow Baker has it and Purdy doesn't, Baker has the contract.
Purdy's going to get extended.
Look, they had a guy. I've said this a few times. I've been a little sheepish on it lately, but they had a guy kind of like Purdy for a long time in Jimmy Garoppolo, who was serviceable, got the job done, even got him to a Super Bowl. But he wasn't that dynamic guy to give him over the top. Then they tried the dynamic guy, Trey Lance. That failed miserably. But
listen, this is a tough start for Purdy.
It is tough.
I think that's going to be the story in 7 or 8 weeks. Like, it was just a rough start. A lot of weird stuff happening in the offseason.
He had a window last year, remember? He had
he had 3 or 4 games.
Like, this is a good buy low window on Purdy right now. And he bounced back and dominated.
Yep.
I think he's a very efficient guy. I think they're just going to get this whole offense is off track right now. They're missing its best 2 pieces.
Yep.
Best 2
weapons.
I was going to say like the
Trent Williams is like
their best 2 like
it's not about fantasy football, bro.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Best 2 weapons, not 2 best 2 pieces.
Swiss Army knife pieces in this offense, and those guys being able to Christian McCaffrey going out and flexing into the wide receiver, Debo coming into the backfield and running, like that offers a lot of stress, right, for the defense because those guys are moving all over doing different things, and maybe they're playing a little bit more vanilla now because they're kind of forced to. Both those guys are out now, so we'll really see what it looks like when both of them are out coming next week. But I think it's been a little bit difficult. I think they're going to right the ship here. This is Kyle Shanahan. He's going to figure it out, and they're going to get this thing going again. So I'm not worried. Obviously, right now Baker Mayfield's sitting top of the list.
Yeah,
right. So
he's the number one guy.
Number one guy.
Dude, he looks good. Do you see that juke he put on the defender?
I did not see that.
Dude,
he looks. Look, spoiler alert. I'm taking Baker. I'm willing to do it. I'm taking Baker. I don't think there's not a huge age gap between the two. Baker is older, but look,
is he 27?
Baker's 29. I think.
29.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Older than I thought.
Yeah, and then Purdy's 26, I believe.
Yeah. Plus, I think you age faster here in Cleveland.
You do
as a quarterback.
They do. That's why he got out and he looked good. So
it's like presidency of the United States. So
yes, yeah, like Barack before and after. Yeah. But look, Baker. You and I had this discussion about a month ago, Rich, and I had Baker too low in my rankings, and we were talking about it, and I was like, what did I need to see to move up? And I was like, I need to see that it wasn't Dave Canales. That's what I need to see. Like, I need to see that this is Baker doing this, and it wasn't just an elite offensive scheme. That's what I'm seeing now. Like, that he's doing this, he's steering the ship against a good team. Like the Lions are no joke. Granted, they're not the world beating defense or anything like that, but it's not like it's just been a cupcake team that he's gone up against. So I'm fully bought in. Like I'm all in. He's been moving up my ranks steadily.
Yeah, we so on the Nerd Herd shows, a lot of times we'll do like once a month, we'll do a ranking debate, like 2 players that we're different, highly different on, and we'll argue our points. And a lot of times we end up moving our rankings around live on the show. And Baker was the last one we did. And I was like, dude, he's like, you have Baker. Like, there's a player with the highest differential we've ever had. It was like a 30 ranked differential. And I made a very strong case why I had Baker where it was. He ended up moving Baker up a little bit. And it looks like, to be honest with you, I need to move Baker up in my rankings now as well in Superflex. Definitely with the way everyone else is playing. He looks
the funny part about really that debate, too. Do you remember who the other player we were talking about? Like, you got to move him ahead of that guy. Do you remember who the other one was?
Was it Brock Purdy?
It was Zay Flowers.
Oh, it was Zay
Flowers. He was
Flowers.
also balling out. So, so it's like, kind of a funny debate now because they're both awesome.
So this is really close for me. I really still like Brock Purdy, tied with Kyle Shanahan. Baker's got the extension. Baker does look really good. He's quarterback 1 overall.
And plus he's your bae.
And he's my bae.
Is the jersey going to go back up?
Oh my gosh!
No, because he doesn't play for the Browns anymore.
Put it back up anyway in brown and orange.
Dude, you're going to have a hard press time to get Nick Chubb off my wall. I am going to lean. God, I'm going with my heart here. I'm going to lean Baker. I'm going to lean Baker because you're right. He, like Matt said, he lost Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to be out for probably minimum 6 weeks. Could be longer. We don't know what's going to happen here.
Christian McCaffrey's also 29.
Yeah, he's also
not
older.
getting younger.
Debo, I mean, with all these contracts going, they're going to have to move one of the receivers. George Kittle's getting older. Debo probably might not be on his team next year. He's got a calf strain. That's an injury that is very high, the flare-up injury as well.
Reoccurrence.
So for me, I'm going to go ahead and stick with the QB1 I have now for the first sure thing. splitting hairs here, I guess, arguably. Like, I'm not going to, if you said Brock Purdy, you're stupid, I would say okay. But I'm going to take my Bay and Baker.
You take your Bay. I'm going to take Purdy. But I think it's going to end up being one of these things where Baker comes down, Purdy comes up. They end up pretty close. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is going to be that.
I don't think so. I think Baker's going to soar.
You think he's just going to soar the whole year? Huh?
I think he's going to, dude, I mean, remember I had this huge argument when they signed a coordinator and they said they're going to move Chris Godwin to the slot. I did that show. I said, dude, this is, I made a point. This is probably like 4 months ago. I was like, dude, this is like.
I have so many Chris Godwin best ball shares, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I was like, dude, this is huge news for Chris Godwin. I went through the whole stat line of where he succeeded in the slot and why he's going to do so well in this offense. And he's absolutely dominant. He's wide receiver 1 overall.
He's the first. He's top
first 8 targets, 8 receptions, like no one else had a catch.
Yeah, 107 yards.
Just everything to Chris Godwin.
Looks good.
Until Jalen McMillan establishes himself and dominates.
He looks good, too. I mean, that's the thing, too, with like
that
Baker.
Hot take might not work
Evans
out.
there next year. You got Jalen McMillan there to come in next year. And then they still probably draft a rookie receiver in the first round to take Chris Godwin's spot if he does end up leaving. So all the uncertainty there, split hairs. I'll take Baker next on the list.
Let's just do the last one here. We'll go down because I think we're running tight on time, I'm guessing.
We're running over on time. And
all right. Maybe we'll save these 2 for another time.
No, we can do it. Let's just do it. Who cares?
Okay. All right. We'll go to the last one here. Jameson.
Next show's smaller anyways.
Jameson Williams, wide receiver 7 currently. Now, it might have changed with last night's. This was after Sunday Night Football. So give me a little grace on the numbers. But
nope, still number 7.
Hey, there we go. All right. Wide receiver 7. Or Lad McConkey at wide receiver 38.
He went down 41.
Okay. I figured as much.
All right.
Just so everybody know, we skipped Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Zay Flowers. I would have picked Jackson Smith and Jigba. Just to let you
I would have picked Zay Flowers, but we already talked about Zay, so I was like, we'll move
JSN
on.
For me also.
Okay.
So let's just go on.
come up a career number where he's seen he's locked in
16
on
targets.
2 wide receiver
bonkers target share game.
Almost all Geno Smith is looking 2 ways, either DK Metcalf or
Tyler
Jackson
Lockett's
Smith and
getting
Jigba.
phased out.
He got
baby.
2 targets. Tyler Lockett getting phased out. And he's off the field on 2 wide receiver sets.
Loving it.
So
I got a little notification that I was too high on Jackson Smith and Jigba in our little rankings thing. I went, nope, I'm keeping them right there. Everyone else can just catch up.
I just use those as like there's a couple here and there that I see like, I should probably move that guy. But a lot of times I'm like, no, that's where I rank this mother.
I want him.
Anyway, so back to Jameson Williams and Lad McConkey. This is a little bit tougher for me because like I love Lad McConkey. I think he is the PPR guy there in LA, but like, man, Ben Johnson likes some Jameson Williams right now. He's wide receiver 7. He's got 24.4 points in week 1 and 14.4 points, and he could have even been better if Jared Goff was on more because he had a lot more. He had 11 targets in that game. He had 129 air yards. Only caught 5 of them for 79 yards, but he still had another big play, 50-yard play in that game. They invested the draft capital in him. And I know they signed Amon-Ra St. Brown, the extension. And Matt, I talked about this too. Like, if Jameson Williams is going to succeed, and we talked about JMO before, like, who does it hurt? Well, it clear cut looks like it's hurting Sam Laporta. He had 10% target share. So even though Jameson Williams, who had another really good game with 14.4 points, he had 11 targets, only caught 5. If Jared Goff played better, because Jared Goff is off, he only had caught 5 of them, still at 79 yards. I'm still going to lean Lad McConkey on this because I really like the player. I like his long-term upside here, and I like him to be the number 1 for Justin Herbert and to be a PPR very good receiver. Kind of fall into that Keenan Allen role for the Chargers and kind of develop that way. But, man, this is from a month ago, if you'd asked me this question.
I was going to say, during draft season, this would have been a mile apart.
I'm Shaquille O'Neal slam dunking this, breaking the rim, right? Like, but now this is. I moved Jameson Williams pretty drastically up my rankings.
Yeah, the fact that this is a conversation, I think, is good for Jameson Williams, right? I mean, I love what the offense is doing. I've always loved Jameson Williams. I'm still a little nervous about injury with him. Sure. And I think I'm going to be until he plays like a full season.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.
And that's one of those things that's not going to go away. So as of now, I would probably still lean towards Lad McConkey. As from a dynasty perspective, I would pick Lad McConkey, but I don't know that it's real far apart though. And Jameson Williams is way farther in my brain as far as having a high ceiling. Like his ceiling is ridiculously higher compared to Ladd McConkey. So that one could sound silly in 6 months if he stays healthy the whole season and just keeps performing. Because he's a special talent, and as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a guy that really just keeps ascending in my rankings as the weeks go on here.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to start to see defenses adjust, because they've been worried about Laporta and they've been worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson's a little bit of an afterthought. They know he's got wheels and he can burn and whatnot. But I wonder if we're going to start to see some adjustments on how they play these teams and stuff. So I think we'll see defenses adjust to his adjustment. Then the question will be, can he make that extra adjustment and adjust back? And that's what I don't know.
You got Ben Johnson there. Good luck, dude. You put Jameson Williams in motion. Good luck, dude. He's so
tough.
fast.
And
he's such a tough guy to cover.
He's still, they're getting him involved in the rushing game once a game. They're giving him a reverse basically, and he's clipping them at 15, 13 yards a carry. You know what I mean? So they are using him that way as well. So they're manufacturing things for him, and I think they're going to continue to manufacture, and like you said, it's going to be a punch counter punch type of thing. Yep. And once they kind of take away some of the things that they're doing, what are the other things that they have in their pocket that they haven't used yet for him? So I guess we're going to have to see, come week.
But it's tough.
Week 5, 6, 7, that type of stuff.
It surprised me how close it was for me. Even somebody that's been like meh on Jameson Williams, like I had a very, very hard time with that one. So I was like, if I'm having a hard time with it and I'm not super high on him, it's got to be pretty close at this
I moved
point.
him up pretty high in my ranks. I made some good. I adjusted my ranks pretty.
We'll be talking quite a bit about those ranks in the next show.
Yeah, and it's weird because like this time of the year, like I literally go look at my rankings 3 times a week, and I'm constantly making like it's that fluid, right? Every time there's an injury, like I got to move Tua down. Oh, Pacheco's out. That the news that they tried to sign Josh Jacobs. I got to move Pacheco down because we don't know what his future holds, and he's out for the whole year. The whole year on a running back that's as late as he is, it's a drastic move. So you got to move these guys around.
I think we forgot. Did we mention that Pacheco is probably doing surgery?
He did get surgery. Yeah, he's out.
Yeah,
about 8 weeks.
I think we mentioned it.
Okay, at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. So we said before, probably I said it on the injury show the whole year, but now they're saying like 8 weeks. But we don't.
Surgery wasn't a known at that point.
Correct.
That's why I wanted to mention.
Okay.
It's kind of a known thing now.
Let's get in ready to go here and go into our next show.
Ooh, yeah.
Adios.